Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
Welcome back to Innovation Unplugged. I'm Houston Blackwood, Workforce Director for the group. On my left is Matt Heaton. Matt, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. You guys all know Matt. Matt, I can't wait. The next time we're in studio, we're going to talk about your big show, Matt's big trailer show down in Columbiana. But on my right today is our special guest, Tim McCartney, who's an ACCS Board of Trustees member, but also very influential in our Asphalt construction series, but supportive of all things Innovation Center. So it's nice to have you on the show with us today.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So we always start with, just so the audience knows who you are, where you've been, and how you got right here.
Okay. Well, I drove down I-59.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Who I am and where I came from. Well, I'm Tim McCartney from Gadsden, Alabama, and I lived my whole career in the highway construction industry, family-owned business, started by my grandfather back in 1945. And directly after college, I went directly to work for the family business. However, I've been working there in summers since I turned 14. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of prior experience to get in there. But I have a civil engineering degree from Auburn University, and then worked in the industry for many years, and we eventually sold our business back in 2018. We sort of had didn't really want to necessarily, but we were at an age where my brother and I didn't have children that were ready to take over. My father was getting along. He was never leaving. He was one of those that was going to work till he died, and just had a good opportunity and chose to do so. So, but I've maintained, I'm not working for money anymore. I'm just working to serve.
Working for impact.
Working for impact, that's right.
Yeah, well, you've certainly been impactful to us since way back when. It's really cool that you grew up in a business, worked the business, worked as a laborer, I'm sure, doing all the things, when you're a teenager. But then you actually ran it. What did that teach you about workforce, leadership, what it takes to actually make the day run?
Well, I learned early on that you've got to get up and go to work to earn your daily keep. And like I said, I started when I was 14. Actually, the deal was when I stopped playing baseball, I was going to work. My brother didn't play baseball, so he actually started when he was 13. And unfortunately, my pony league year, I was put on a team that we lost every game. That's hard to do. That is really hard to do in baseball.
That's
but
funny.
We did. It wasn't a great year, and I thought, well, I think I'd rather go to work. And that's how bad it was. And I like baseball. So that next year I went to work, and like you say, I started at the bottom. I was always the low man on the totem pole for years, and all through school. So I learned, basically, if you boil it down to what I learned from working in the construction business was personal responsibility, number one, and then discipline and resiliency and teamwork. And if you want me to, I'll expound on each one of those a little bit.
Well, when I think about our audience out there, I don't know how many 18-year-olds listen to this show because, well, for a lot of reasons they don't.
We're probably too funny for them. So.
Yes, that's right.
We're cringe. But yeah, for sure. Because there are a lot of folks that do listen who are recovering from something, or second chance students. Right. And I know for a fact that those groups are listening. So dig into those four things just a little bit.
Okay, the first one is personal responsibility. I learned early on that you better take responsibility for your own. Your actions have consequences. You can't blame it on somebody else. You go out there and, particularly in the workforce, if you are assigned a job and you fail at it, nobody else's fault, it's yours. And even if you work on a team, if you fail to do your part and the team fails, that's your fault. You need to learn early to own up to it. It's okay to make a mistake, as long as, but if you start blaming people, you get into a bad habit of just, no, it's never your fault. And that's just not the way the world works. Same thing goes true in education. You go to school, if you don't do your homework, that's not your mama's fault. That's your fault. So you don't study for a test and make a poor grade. That's your fault. As far as discipline, you just need to be able to, do the job you're assigned. Get up, go to work, get there on time. If you don't bring your lunch to work, you're not going to eat that day in construction, because we ate on site. We didn't go to a restaurant. So you better be responsible, be disciplined to do all that. Same thing again in school. If you don't study, you don't go to bed on time, you're just going to have poor performance. As far as resiliency, you're going to fail a lot as you're starting something. I failed a lot on projects and stuff when I was young, because I didn't know what I was doing, and frankly, being the boss's son, nobody was really going to help you.
No, they're not going to give you any grace there.
No, they're not, and that was good. That was a really good lesson, because you had to come back. You had to, like the old, and this will age me, the old Timex watch. You take a licking and keep on ticking.
Yep.
So I've got a granddaughter right now that's just turned 1 year old, and she is learning how to walk. She's an expert crawler, but she can walk while holding on to things, but she can't do it without holding on to something. So she's falling a lot, but she's very resilient. So she's giving me a lot of hope. She's going to be walking in the next 2 or 3 weeks. As far as teamwork, nobody does anything without supporting staff. Same way on the construction job. You go out. We were in the asphalt paving business primarily, and we had asphalt plants. We also had rock quarries, but sort of the prime people that get all the kudos, and they also get all the blame, is the guys that go out there and actually pave it.
Yeah.
So you've got laborers, you've got skilled operators, you've got foremen, truck drivers. You've got office staff behind all that, because they keep up with the cost, let you know whether you're behind or ahead on cost versus your estimated cost. All of that, human resources, it takes a team. It just takes a team. Same thing as you're growing up, going through education. You got your parents, who are usually your first and best teacher, but you've got your teachers, you've got the support staff at the schools, you even got your classmates that help you get through. So it's all a team. And one of the things that, preparing for this interview, I thought back a few years ago. I was with the Alabama DOT director, John Cooper, and he told me, we'd been around each other all day. I think we were working on some legislation, but he told me, he said, "Tim, if you're ever walking across a hayfield and you come upon a turtle sitting on a fence post, you got to figure it didn't get there by itself." So the more I've thought about that, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's teamwork.
So in all those years you worked as the young, family member in the job site, to owning it, running it, and now in what you see, have you seen like a generational or cultural shift in those things, responsibility, discipline, teamwork? And
no, I think those are basic rules that apply to anything. I think I don't think there's been a shift as far as what those values stand for.
Yeah, I think what I really meant is how people respond to those expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. There was, for example, the term work-life balance. I'd never heard of that until I hired our first HR manager several years ago, and it was a young female, very bright young lady, and she started talking to me about work-life balance one day, and I said, "I don't really know what you're talking about." And she said, "Well, you got to have fun." And I said, "No, I was sort of raised that if you didn't work, you didn't have a life." So yeah, there's some new spins on it.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say, like, all those things you learned, if you flash forward to now and all the roles and the impact you have in guiding insights, how did all of those things help you become the leader, impactful opportunity maker that you are today?
Well, again, discipline, maybe number one, and competitiveness. That's one thing you learn in a family. I think you learn it in sports, you learn it in business, but family business, you certainly learn it because you've got siblings that you know, you love each other, but you're also rivals, and you want to you work hard to outdo one another. So that, and then it's important that you build a reputation, that you're trustworthy, and you'll do what you say. My grandfather, I was fortunate, real fortunate, to have all four of my grandparents live long enough to where I got to know them all.
Oh, wow.
And they all had great workforce ethics and worked hard up until the day they died. And, you know, my grandfather was a guy, your word is your bond. You don't hear that as much as you used to, but when I came into the industry, that was it. If you really did a lot of work based on the handshake. You say, I'm going to do, Matt, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and you did it.
Yeah.
Right.
There was no question. Because if you didn't, your reputation certainly suffered, and people wouldn't do business with you.
Yeah, I've seen that. Matt?
Yeah, you touched on a little bit with your grandparents, but how did working alongside your father and your brother shape your leadership philosophy?
I think I mentioned it made me more competitive, I think.
Yeah.
One thing about family business, they're great, you know, but they're also, it's interesting. It's working with your family, and y'all know this, y'all have families. Everybody knows how to push each other's buttons.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
So you could be in a meeting and your sibling might say something that just sets you off, but you know.
It reminds me of that Toyota commercial. We had the two brothers, and they were little, and they were like, got ya. They were always like throwing water balloons at each other or scaring each other. Then one was like out in the field doing something, and they were playing a video game. One was in a board meeting. One was out doing outdoor stuff, and they were racing. They gotcha. No, it was Verizon. It was, anyway, siblings.
Yeah, sort of like the Manning brothers.
Exactly. Yes.
Commercials. Yeah, we got a lot of that. But one thing you do in family business is, as the old saying is, blood's thicker than water. You know, we could fight amongst ourselves, but when we had a common foe, so to speak, you know, you circle the wagons, and you know, we were very competitive. So I learned that, and then again, resilience in construction. The type of construction we did a lot of governmental work, so those are all low bid contracts. So you turn in a lot of bids, you don't get them all.
Yeah.
Because basically, if you get them all, you're too low, and you go out of business. But you learn to take those, even though after you submit, you've worked real hard to put a bid together, and you lose. You say, well, the first thing highway contractor says, oh, he can't do it for that. There's no way they can do it cheaper. Well, they can.
Yeah,
and they do.
And they do.
So, yeah, you learn a lot like that.
So that led you, a lot of those things led you to become, in some way, somehow, part of the Alabama Workforce Council. So you were part of that when it started.
Yes.
Right? Tell us about that vision, because for most folks out there listening, if they're a college team, they probably know. But some of our folks are, you know, not part of the college system. They don't really understand how all that works. So give us a quick rundown of what the Alabama Workforce Council is and why it was actually created.
Well, actually, it's what it was, because it no longer exists.
Well, that's true, yes.
So actually, before the Workforce Council was started, under Governor Riley, there was a program starting regional workforce councils, and we had originally 9 regions across the state, later consolidated into 7. But I was actually originally in that first group. I was asked, I don't know if y'all know Blaine Gallagher. Blaine used to be the House member from Etowah County, one of the House members from Etowah County, and Blaine asked me to serve on it. And I said, no, I haven't got time to do this, and this is just, you know, it was an election year, and I said, this is just a political ploy to show people that the government cares about workforce, and I ain't got time. And he said, no, just stay on, and if you don't like it, you can quit. Well, I stuck it out and stayed on, met a lot of people, learned a lot, but those original councils didn't have any teeth to them. They had no money. There was no money behind it, so we couldn't really do anything. And then later in 2015, maybe in 14, under Governor Bentley, the Alabama Workforce Council was started. And so I was asked to be on that. I think I was appointed by the Senate Pro Tem at that time, Dale Marsh. So it was started. I was on the original council, served as a committee chair, and basically the original vision of the Alabama Workforce Council was to create a business-led, data-driven workforce system across the state with intention of increasing our labor force participation rate, aligning education with industry needs and demands. I hate to use the word demand, but demand in a good sense, not that we're stomping on the table. Expanding credentials and career pathways for all of our citizens, and then strengthening our economic ability across the country, compete nationwide, which we have done. I want to give kudos to Governor Ivey and her staff. Greg Canfield did a terrific job as Commerce Director. So we did all that, and it's basically the foundational goal was to connect education to opportunities for all of our citizens.
How did that morph into Governor Ivey's Success Plus? Was it because she mentioned, she brought that on board right about the time the regional workforce councils were beginning their transition to whatever they're not now.
Right.
You know.
Well, the Success Plus basically boiled down to we wanted to increase the industry recognized credentials and degrees and certificates for people across the state. And we set a goal in early 2018 to attain 500,000 degrees, certificates, credentials by the year 2025. So little did we know that a year and a half later we were going to have COVID, which put a clamp on a lot of things. But the good story is, even though that was a BHAG, as Tom Collins would say, I don't know if we can use the A word in here, but big, hairy, like goal. It was a BHAG for sure, because everybody was thinking 500,000. That's a big number.
It was. I remember that.
But we met it, and I think it was just a few hundred under, but rounding off, we got 500,000.
By the spirit of the law, we made it.
Yeah, absolutely, which was tremendous, and that's helped us state a lot. So the council, people don't understand, it's more of an advocacy group. We didn't have any real power other than the power of industry and saying we support this, and working with different department heads and all to try to shift our focus on demand versus, hey, we're going to think up something to teach people, and we don't care whether anybody needs it or not.
Well, one thing they really did well in the North region, so, Ronnie Bowles.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, man, he was always busting my chops for the right reasons.
Right.
Asking the hard questions. Like, man, could you please stop asking me questions like that? I don't know. But what that council really did is it was so weird is that they approved for colleges to get grants.
Right.
From the system office money that the regional council approved through an application process, but those grants served so much leadership and like upskill, and in some cases like medication aid, CNA, some entry level jobs that took people from like housekeeping or no job to like making $14-15 an hour,
right?
Which is a lot when you don't have a job,
Absolutely.
And so we served so many nursing homes and assisted livings and small mom and pop shops with leadership training, like especially conflict resolution and supervising your peers,
right?
Which was,
right.
So that's a hard thing.
Very important.
But I would say like, the regional councils are gone now and part of the bigger, what's it called? Alabama Works.
Right.
Or ish.
It's the, the labor department turned into the Department of Workforce.
That's right.
So.
But they were very beneficial to my team at the time. So I would say that it was very good. Matt?
Tim, is there one thing or maybe a few things that helped industry, education, and the government learn to collaborate more effectively? Well,
the biggest thing is we met on a regular basis. You're talking about from the Workforce Council?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I became chair in 2018 and was chair until the end of the council in 2024. So the thing that I found that was most effective is we would meet quarterly, and we had a lot of government officials that would be at our meetings. And so bringing industry and government officials together to where they can have, you get to talk about your problems, and then government officials can hear from the industry side, here's how we think you need to do it. Not necessarily going to do it, but at least they start to understand one another's positions and work toward a common goal. So that helped a lot. And then a lot of face-to-face meetings. I spent a lot of time, of course, because I was no longer employed for money.
Right.
I had time to go, and bless my wife's heart. I was gone a lot during that time, probably more than when I was working full time. But just going and meeting face to face. Met a lot with Dr. Mackey with the Alabama State Board of Education. Met a lot with, well, not a lot, but several times with Chancellor Baker, and that was long before I was on the board. So, but getting their opinions on how to and understanding, explaining why, the business and industry needed the help that we were asking for.
So what currently do you think is the most unique thing helping Alabama's workforce on the national level?
Well, over the last 10 years, a lot of work's been done with from both business and industry and the government side to make us a lot more competitive. But part of that's from increasing those credentials and degrees and certificates for jobs that are in need, that are in high demand. That's one focus that was spent, and I don't think happened before, is working with the Labor Department. We got the critical data that shows what jobs are high demand, high wage, and we slowly have shifted the focus toward training toward those. And there were some, at the beginning of my period starting in here, we had some programs in certain parts of the state, and I don't remember exactly when, it doesn't matter. We had a class somewhere, I think it was in South Alabama, they taught how to fix watches. That's great. That's a wonderful skill, but nobody needs that anymore because watches, you don't keep watches that are broken anymore. You throw them away. They're cheap. But at one time, they were expensive, and you paid somebody to fix them.
That is so true. And to that point, I remember right before I got to Calhoun, the building I was in had the one room served for ball dancing lessons. Is it ballroom dancing? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what ball dancing is. Anyway, ballroom dancing.
That's some type of aerobic workout, probably.
Yeah. Okay. This is an educational information show. It also served as the upholstery class.
Yeah. And
so there was like a whole closet for all the sewing machines they'd pull out, mirrors everywhere with airlines and all these. It was so weird, man. And they just cut all that out. Before that, it was also childcare. It had a full kitchen and like tiny little bathroom, like little kid toilets. It was so weird. But the president then was like, hey, none of that stuff is really driving people to jobs. So we're going to stop. Like, it's fun. We'll go over here to the senior center and do some ballroom dancing.
Right.
And we'll sponsor that over there. Their money, their place, whatever. And, man, people were so upset. And we had calls all the time because we took away those things. And so, thankfully, when Dr. Hodges got back to Calhoun, he was like, hey, that stuff is fun. Let's go back. He said, I get it, but let's go build a community offering. Because it's still important, but it's not why we should not be spending money on those things. And that's a hard thing for people to understand.
Right.
Because it's not benefiting really the jobs.
Right.
Which is really where the economy has benefited. Let's shift gears just a little bit. You, in all your work, you've been an advocate for competency-based hiring and competency-based training.
Right.
And that's different than just getting a degree, and we do competency-based, and that was a hard sell at first with the Skills for Success program because it was like, hey, they're going to do these 28 things, and that's all they got to do. And people are like, no, they got to go through 12,000 hours of heavy equipment, history of heavy equipment. No, we don't. Teach them to do these things. So why was that shift so important? And you were an advocate for it. What was your background on that? And why were you pushing?
Well, my background, and I didn't really know what competency-based hiring was. That's one of those big 25-cent words that government uses. But basically, once I learned what it was, it's like, well, that's what we've been doing my whole career because in our business, we probably had 25% of the people in our company that had college degrees.
Yeah.
We didn't need college degrees. We needed people with skills out on the workforce that a lot of them learned from farms, from working on farms.
Yep.
And basically, and to give you a little background on history, construction companies, when the roads started being built and all, you started drawing from people in the farms because they had all sorts of skills. They knew how to do everything.
Yep.
And they had a great work ethic. And they wanted to get off the farm because construction work, as hard as it is easier than farm work. Yeah. And I've had enough working on farm, doing hay and picking gardens and stuff. My grandparents is like, yeah, construction's probably a lot easier.
You telling me, yeah.
But anyway, I was pushing it because that's the way we did our business, and it makes a whole lot more ability for people to hire if you start basing your job descriptions based on skills that you know instead of degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that industry has done, probably still does. You'll write a job description that doesn't necessarily need a 4-year degree or even a 2-year degree, but they always put in there, prefer 4-year degree or prefer associate's degree. That's really not what you want. You want the person that has the skills to do the job you want done. So there's still a transition going on for HR managers to learn how to write a proper job description to get the skills you need. So,
well, and that's so interesting that you say that, and I agree completely. Even for us, like in the college system, we'll write a job description, and you'll have to have a 4-year degree to run programs to run certificate-based programs.
Right.
Like, come on, man! Like doesn't make any sense.
Well, another example is before the Workforce Council. I was sitting in a meeting. We had a local superintendent that was talking about, and I won't name schools, but
we don't name names on the show.
We won't name names, but this is a true story. Anyway, she was talking about they had a welding class down at one of her high schools, and it was oversubscribed with students, but they couldn't teach it.
Yep.
And I said, why?
Yeah.
She said, we don't have a welding instructor that has the background
accreditation stuff. Yeah.
And it's like, what do you need that for? You need a welder. And they said, yeah. And so one of the things we did, we helped change that.
Okay.
So we advocate for, we understand your rules and all, but let's stop doing a stupid thing like that. Get somebody from industry to come in here and show you how to weld because they know that's what they're doing.
And it's so funny because you say it, because I remember when I was an early teacher, like it was taboo to not have a bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. And now, man, you can go over there and have like 1,000 certificates and get an emergency teaching certificate,
right?
And teach anything, like whatever. And I love that, but it's like that's a really good shift.
Well, another example is my wife is also a civil engineer.
Okay.
She's a professional engineer, and she worked before we had children. She worked about 10 years in the industry, but after we started having children, we had 4 children, and she started volunteering at a church school.
Oh yeah.
And then she ended up running the school for I don't know 18
I'm not
years
surprised.
or something like that. And she started out doing science teaching and then keyboarding back when keyboarding was the thing, and then robotics. And I told her, I said, you could teach. She said, nope, I can't. I'm not qualified. I don't have a teaching degree. Could teach at a community college at the time, but not in the K through 12. And I said, that's insane.
Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. We had a lot of what's the word? I need to use the right words. I'm bad about saying what's actually on my mind. Pushback on our credentials because they were short, and not pushback from the colleges, but like some industries. I had a guy not too long ago. He was he worked in the septic tank business, and I was talking about our wastewater treatment and how we're going to teach them to bury a septic tank, like all the things. And he's like, "There's no way that in 2 days you can teach somebody to use an excavator."
No.
And I said, well, to what level? Like to your level? No, man, because you've been doing it 40 years. But can I teach them to run and dig a trench or dig a flat bottom trench that's 10 foot long? Sure. Can I teach them not to flip it over and how to pre-trip it and where not to stick the boom into the power line? Absolutely, right?
Yep.
And then you can let them over there and play in the dirt and do some basic stuff while you go over there and do the master level work, and you're not having to do it all. And he didn't get that. And we talked outside after the meeting, and maybe made some progress with him. But a lot of times those old school people, old school owners, business owners, won't let go of that. If I'm going to hire a guy, he's got to have 20 years experience. They will not, they just can't wrap their heads around hiring a 20-year-old who's been through dozer, excavator, skid steer, whatever. Like, no, they're not experts in any of it, but they get it.
Right.
The basic of it, like put them to work and see what they can do. Because those kids, they don't grow up on farms anymore, but they still wear boots. And they come to school with dirty boots and dirty jeans and calloused hands because they're doing something.
Right.
They're not growing crops, but they're doing something. And so I wonder how many times like business and industry are missing those kids because they don't have, 10 years experience, but they've been through a lot of classes that are extremely competency-based, right?
Right.
How do we bridge that gap?
I think we have to have more companies willing to set up apprenticeship programs. And, during the time the Workforce Council was started, the Alabama Office of Apprenticeship was started. And without going into all the intricate details of the U.S. Labor Department rules of apprenticeship, that's something that we've increased, but not nearly enough. So you've got to have, and I understand from a construction owner standpoint, it's hard to put an 18-year-old on a $500,000 machine.
Understood.
That can be torn up very easily. But you've got to put them on the machine, and you got to train them. And an apprenticeship program is a proper way to do that, or an internship. And I know a lot of 4-year universities are saying more you're stressing internships, which is great.
Yeah, when I was a classroom teacher, there were 2 universities in the north. One of them had a really long internship program, and that same college, like your first or second semester of teacher school, like you were in the classrooms, like out helping, doing whatever. And the other one, the only time you did your student teaching was the last like 6 weeks. Right. And there was a stark difference in those 2 people when they came to be my student teacher. And so I look at that now and I think sometimes about those things, how companies can take someone who's been embedded in some trainings for a long time, they've taken 4 or 5 courses, and then put them into an OJT that's prescribed the apprenticeship program. Right. But I just don't know that we're there yet.
No, I don't think we're there yet. But we're headed there.
Yes.
And the fact that there's consistently high demand for skilled workers in manufacturing plants, construction, all of the skilled HVAC, in the South, HVAC is a tremendous job because we're not going to do without our air conditioning.
Oh gosh, no. And all the data centers coming. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, then we talk about all the things being in high demand, but then on the other side, the hesitancy of the employer, what role or what bigger role should that employer play in creating these industry-aligned credentials?
Well, one thing, they've got to become engaged more. They've got to be engaged with what's going on. And the council was comprised of about, I think we had 35 business and industry people, and they were engaged, and some more than others. But that's 35 across the state. We just need more. And I don't have the silver bullet to do that. You got to get out and talk. And I did a lot of this when I was chair, is go to Kiwanis clubs and go to meetings and just talk, the economic developers. But a lot of times I found myself I was in the wrong audience. I mean, I was with people that were drinking from the same Kool-Aid cup. And but you've got to do that, and I think you're doing that with the Skills for Success program. That's what we're working with on the QAQC. You've talked to the associations and all. We just got to keep beating the drum for it, and it'll eventually take hold.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to say this, and I think I can say it to you because I've learned that you're obviously for the college system, and you're very supportive of the Innovation Center and what we do. We and Matt being the career readiness manager, he leads that division. It's 2 guys, but we call it the division because it sounds sexy. But I think we just hit 60,000 in registrations yesterday, sometime over the weekend. Phenomenal. Like, in 3 years ago, what was it, like 2,000?
like 2,200 enrollment.
And we thought we were big stick then, right? And now we're at 60,000. And some of that is not unduplicated. But we catch some feedback. I'll use that word.
Feedback
on how many K-12 students we serve who aren't really getting jobs, right? So taxpayer money through this program, we got a lot of sophomores, juniors who aren't going to work after they take a course. I get it. But I feel like, and we all feel like, that the more we can narrow down what they're really interested in or what they're really good at, the better off we are when they do graduate. So when they're a senior, they're taking courses that really matter, right?
Right.
Well, that's my opinion, and I'm probably more outspoken about it than I should be, but it feels like if the people who gift us this money and the people from the system office who guide us would give us like a little pat on the back or a little bit of, little good games that, hey, yeah, that is the right path. Let's put some better borders on it. But that is the direction we should go. I feel like I'd feel a lot better about it. But what are your thoughts on giving those younger 10th and 11th grade students, 12th grade students, those opportunities to know what they like or don't like?
I think it's critical because there's so many kids today that get to the end of their high school career and they have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's too danged expensive to go to college these days.
Mm-hmm.
I had a father-in-law who taught me a very, very important, or at least what I think, it's part of my spiel these days when I'm talking to people, is he had a state job.
Yeah.
And not highly paid, but he put 2 daughters through college. But he said, I was willing to pay for their tuition as long as they got a certificate. He called it a certificate,
Yeah.
not a degree. A certificate where they could get a job after college that would be a return on my investment.
Mm-hmm.
One of them became a teacher, and as I said, my wife became a civil engineer. So yeah, they both. And my sister-in-law just finished her. I think she retired at 36, 37 years.
Oh wow!
Teaching kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how anybody does that.
No,
She's
no.
kind of crazy.
But it's important that you learn early. And I was exposed at an early age. I was able to do that, because I was in a family-owned business. But I learned real quickly that I needed to get my education because I really didn't want to dig ditches the rest of my life.
No.
And I'll tell you, and it used to be a lot of kids in high school worked for our company in the summers.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be 18. But I've had so many of them tell me, I learned real quick the value of an education. Because if I didn't get that education, I'm probably going to be doing a job. It's not that I mean it has not important,
Yep.
but he said, I want to do more. And so I think you've got to get kids experience in as many things as you possibly can. Because to me, a young person today needs, by the end of high school, needs to know the career pathway they want to take.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to know is through experience.
Mm-hmm.
Putting your hands on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of experience and opportunities, what do we have existing today that you didn't see 20 or 30 years ago that kind of feeding into the career tech programs?
Oh, there's so many different opportunities because of technology, growth in technology. I mean, I remember I was thinking about it at breakfast this morning. The technology on cell phones. The first cell phone I had was a bag phone. And
Yeah, I
I bet
remember
you
those.
nobody under 40 knows what a bag phone was.
Probably not.
I remember growing up, my neighbor had a bag phone in his car. I thought he was
Oh, yeah.
hot stuff.
Yeah, and it was expensive. You didn't have long conversations
Couldn't use
on
it.
cell phones. Yeah. And but technology has advanced so much, and it's allowed. In industry, you've replaced a lot of manual labor with machine labor.
Mm-hmm.
You still do the same. You furnish the same product, and then the teaching side, you've got equipment that you can train on in these, like in the community college, the Advanced Manufacturing Center, phenomenal equipment, up to date. But I've seen it progress technologically tremendously. Particularly, my industry, construction industry, a lot of technology where it was all done by hand, and now you have like on grade control, you have laser ungraded grading. You used to need a motor grader operator had to be somebody that had a lot of hours training. You don't find people like you were talking about before. You don't find anybody that has thousands of hours to be able to blue top a road, but you have laser equipment that replaces that lack of experience.
Yeah.
So you can put a newer operator on it, and so that's one thing that technology is advanced like. Now with AI, I know y'all talking about you're going to be interviewing some folks today on AI. I'm not one of these that thinks it's going to replace these jobs that we're talking about and the hands-on skills. It's going to help. It's going to assist.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to replace plumbers and welders and HVAC folks,
AI
or
proof,
road construction guys. You're going to make their lives a lot less labor intensive. It's going to be assisted, but I don't think you're going to replace it anytime soon.
Yeah. Switch gears hard. We're getting kind of close to the end.
Wow, that was cool.
I know. Yeah. So we got a very big topic left, though. Just a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had our first asphalt lab technician pilot. That's near and dear to your heart. And actually, we're having the second one next week. So asphalt lab tech, I didn't really know what it meant. I went through the course, but I called it the gravel kitchen. Because we're like weighing and measuring and separating and all that and mixing up stuff. But why is that? You call it the quality assurance, quality control in your world, in the paving world. Why is that so important to get folks into that particular job?
Well, it's a very specific skill that you have, and it's high paid. It's very, very high paid, and it doesn't require a college degree.
Yeah.
You need to be proficient in math and reading, following instructions, but that's an important job because for highway contractors, and it works for ready mix as well, but asphalt contracting, there are certain specifications that you have to meet or the state will not pay for your product.
Yeah.
So that's a very expensive product to put out on the road, not knowing whether you're meeting specifications.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. It's just, to me, it's just as valuable as a medical technician. You're using the same techniques. You've got to know how to weigh and measure and calculate specific gravities.
Yeah.
And run those tests.
I'll be honest with you. That was like, oh man, we've got 70 courses available to the public, and I've been a part of almost every single pilot. Like there for it. That was one of the coolest ones. And motor grader, I want to do that job one day, but at asphalt lab tech, being in that lab and sorting the gravel, which sounds silly, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then like getting it down and taking what do you call the big can where you drop all this,
the shaker of
the shaker, the sieve analysis. That was really cool too. Getting down to just how much dust do we have there, right? That was so cool. I just love that process of, and then pouring the gravel out and mixing it all up and quartering it and mixing it. Like to getting that representative sample, I thought that was the coolest thing. Like literally thought, well, there's a rock quarry just down the street from my house. Like I could do that when I retire. When I get run out of this job, I can go down there and work. But it was really cool. But understanding what you said, like how important it is to make sure the company gets paid for what they're putting down.
Absolutely.
So they know when they send it out, it's right. That's really cool. We are towards the end. So final thoughts, man. Hey, thank you for being here. I know you're a very busy guy. You drove a long way. Your insight about your background and where we're headed in the state is very powerful to our audience. Very impactful for us. What are your final thoughts on where we're headed as a college system, as a state?
Well, from the college system standpoint, I think we're in better shape than we've ever been. The governance of the college system, the community college system, changed back in 2015 and went out from under. Before that, it was controlled by the State Board of Education, and now it has separate governance under Board of Trustees, which I serve on. The chancellor has done a tremendous job with his staff, and they've coordinated the effort. It's aligned toward workforce needs. Now, before I get in trouble, I've gotten in trouble before because people think all you're worried about is getting laborers or people to work for that. That's not. We're specifically talking about the workforce, not the academic side. The community college certainly fill the academic side as well. And in fact, dual enrollment, which has increased tremendously in the time that I've been involved in this, and I could go on some really long stories about that. But I checked recently, there are 30,000. I think it's 30,000 students in high school right now that are involved in community college dual enrollment courses, and I think it's around 300,000 credit hours. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's increased tremendously. Thanks to, and we'll give a shout out to the legislature.
Yeah.
They've funded it, and the average cost to students is minimal. Most of it's scholarship and paid. So that is something that's, I think, is going to continue to improve. Hopefully, the legislature will see fit to continue to allocate money for that, because it's teaching people skills, and I think Alabama is headed on the right path. We're a lot more competitive than we were before we had all this, and I think we're headed to more competition. I want to see Alabama become a point of destination instead of a point of departure.
Agreed.
I want our kids to stay here. They don't need to go anywhere else. And frankly, as long as we set our standards high and we teach skills that can obtain jobs and align education to opportunity, it not only allows Alabamians to get jobs, but it gives them a foundation built on jobs with dignity, stability, and upward mobility. And I think that's what we really want to see happen. That's what I want to see happen. I hope everybody shares that thought.
I love all that. Love all that. I think we could put all that in a nice little promo. It's exactly what we're after.
Okay.
It's why we get up every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Matt, final thoughts?
Again, appreciative of you coming in and sitting down with us today. If today's listeners were going to take one key topic from this discussion and what you have done and are going to continue to do, what would that be?
I think that people need to engage in helping educate our future, because old people like me, we want a bright future for our young people, because eventually we're going to need their help.
Right.
As proud as we are, and we don't want help, we need their help. So we need to pay it back. As they say, pay it forward, but we're sort of paying it to the group coming up.
Right.
And I think that engagement with community colleges, their high schools, you can volunteer. And I know all of these career tech councils at high schools, they're always looking for people to be involved from the industry side.
Right.
So I've been involved in ours, and I promise you, I've gotten a lot more back than I've given. And I think that's surprising a lot of times, but I really do. I really
Every time.
enjoy it.
It's that way every time.
Yeah.
For sure. Awesome. Well,
I appreciate the opportunity to come in with y'all. Y'all
Yeah.
done a great
Yes, sir.
job.
Yeah, you've been a big support to us. Big impacts all around, creating lots of opportunities. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Wrap this thing up, man.
Absolutely. As always, if anything you've heard on this podcast is of interest, you can always visit our website at trainforalabama.com. That's train, F-O-R, alabama.com. And this is going to conclude another episode of Innovation Unplugged. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on all your social media platforms. Thank you.